Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. Rabbi sholli sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As you'll hear from Delhi Hub, today we're very fortunate to have our new segment called Ask Ustaz. We have a very great speaker sharing their experience, and even we have great speakers and ustaz. I'm going to answer some of the questions how to cope with challenges from our Muslim friends and relatives who live in Europe, inshallah. If you are tuning in, do share, do put in some comments if you have any questions. Okay, so without further ado, okay, let me introduce to you our first speaker by the name of Maud Bilia, founding president of Salam Kampung France, who have initiated this initiative, mashallah. And she have collaborated with Daily Dean there to bring you this topic today. And she is also a founding admin of a Facebook group, Malay in Europe. She's been in France and married to a French Muslim. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, Azrael.
Alhamdulillah. Okay.
Inshallah.
Hi, how's everything? Ramadan in France?
Alhamdulillah, I must say, this is probably my sixth Ramadan here, fifth or sixth, I don't know. I've been here for 6 years. So it's definitely better and better each time, Alhamdulillah. Why I say that? Because my first Ramadan happened just within 3-4 weeks after I had moved to France, and it was right in the middle of summer, end of July I think it was. So the heat was pretty treacherous. It was regularly above 40 degrees and the days were long. Summer would mean that subuh would be around 3 a.m. and that means you have your sahur way before, right? And then you break fast just before 10 p.m. So we're looking at just almost 18 hours of fast. So it was coming from Singapore, even a Southeast Asian context where we fast for 13 hours. It was, quite unimaginable. Even more so for people in the Northern Hemisphere, like in Sweden, Norway, and Finland, where the sun shines for I think more than 20 hours. So yeah, that's one of the challenges, and how it has improved in terms of fasting every year, because as the day gets shorter and cooler, we are in spring now. Alhamdulillah, it's good.
Alhamdulillah. We have actually gathered some questions, from the community in France as well as in Europe. MashaAllah, when you look at the questions, it's amazed me and how fortunate we are living in the Nusantara, Malaysia, Indonesia, even Singapore, myself, right? And anyway, this particular session is an initiative and it will be last for about 30 minutes with question and answer. Inshallah, we will continue every fortnightly. So if you do have any questions, do put in your comments in our Facebook page, and inshallah we will try to address some of your questions and any doubts with some challenges that you face today. All right, okay, if you cannot even finish up the question, inshallah we will always bring into other segment. Hopefully Ustaz will be able to address those questions. Okay, without further ado, let me introduce our next speaker, someone is really expected. Ustaz Syed Esa Alkaff, right? Here, Singapore, where he graduated. A bit about him from Islamic International University of Malaysia, UIA, in Islamic Studies. Specializing in matter of Muslim reversion, he works as a development officer at Darul Arqam, the Muslim Converts Association of Singapore. Today, he continues his guidance with more focus on intercultural relationship and Islamic practices. As a freelance religious teacher with a global following in Asia, Pacific, and Europe. Assalamualaikum, Ustaz.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. How's that? How are you be celebrating? How is it Ramadan? Coping Ramadan so far?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay. Ustaz, you've been busy with what currently, Ustaz? Maybe you want to share with the audience what are you busy
Okay, sure.
with, what do you do, inshallah.
In general, due to the CB, the circuit breaker, right? Unfortunately, all the classes have to be shut down. But we are very fortunate with the assist, with the blessing of Allah have given us the technology, and most of the time, in fact, from Monday to Friday, I will be in front of the camera. Zooming to everyone here, has and when, and even doing counseling, using the Zoom also. We are more familiar with the Zoom rather than this is the first time I'm using this platform, so that is the challenge that we face. But
Yeah,
I actually I'm the person that I don't actually want to be just wondering, or pondering, or letting my time flies just like that. So what I did, I try to engage as many and as what we are doing now with D on the other side, because you can see the time difference, right? So I have yet to reach out with the rest of my others student that I can still remember in United States of America, in UK, in different parts of Europe. So Alhamdulillah, I'm glad that this started this, and I hope that I'm at the later we can reach out to the rest, who are in the same position as most Muslims that are in Europe. Unlike in some part of Europe, I think it's not that much of an issue where they have even I was told even in France, in Paris itself, there are about 5 million Muslims over there, and with a large number of Arabs, the Algerians, the Moroccan, and some others. So it's not. Although, I mean, of course, to reach out to the every Muslim from different states, right? It's almost impossible because we need to know the difference of the what is been acknowledged, or rather what is been allowed in the different countries. I'm talking about the state law. Some may think that religion is something. I don't want to know. I don't want to get involved in that kind of thing. So that's where it's going to be very tough. But Alhamdulillah, with this technology that Allah have gave us, we have to make use of it, and really be try to be to get more exposure, and where we can even do good things, to share this with others. Alhamdulillah.
Inshallah, Ustaz, with this new segment of Art Ustaz, we'll be able to reach out to more people and to answer some of your queries. And this could be the first step. That we are been here today together, right? Both of us in Singapore, even the side of Singapore, Andy is in France, and here we are today discussing how to assist on our brothers and sisters who may face challenges, who may have some question. Right?
Sure.
Yeah, inshallah. Okay, Ustaz. Let's comments some of these questions. Okay. We will, since we still in Ramadan period, right? Some of the challenges that they face. Okay, I'll put this in the chat so that everybody will able to see.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. So and I also will share this in front of the screen here. Okay. About how to fast in countries where sun shine for 20 hours. We in Singapore for 13 hours. Sometimes we could face, a lot of challenges. Okay. So the questions goes like this. Okay. Do we, since 20 hours, right? So do we follow the fasting of 24 hours? Okay. Or how do we fast? So these are some of the questions. Because some of the sources say that we can follow Mecca or any nearby countries, Ustaz. Okay, maybe you want to give further clarification, inshallah.
Sure. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina ma yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa may yudlil fala hadiya lahu wa asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarika lahu wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan 'abduhu wa rasuluh. Allahumma shalli wa sallim wa barik ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad wa rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli, amma ba'du. Thank you, Mr. Izrin. Of course, this is not a new phenomena. If you were to be posing this kind of question to me, I mean, to most religious teacher, I believe, because we are, you know, we are informed of, the other part or the other side of the world, where we are in a land where the sun does not set until 9:30 p.m. We are aware because this is in the subject of Islamic law. So you need to be knowing that different part of the world may practice or may have different what they need to be facing. So when do we break our fast? According to most of the scholars, you break your fast when the sun set, as long as you have a night and day. This is the argument. As long if you in that country, if you have night and day within 24 hours, right? So the rule is you are obligated to fast even the day is very long, unfortunately. Okay. So in the land of Scandinavian, right, and the area north of it, the Muslims has to deal with the problems of night and the day being very long and very short. Sometimes the day will continue for 22 hours, right? And the night will be of 2 hours only. I mean, some of this not necessarily have to be in Europe, but on my end, even if you've been to Palestine or even Jordanian, they have this kind of issue too, in terms
Mm.
of the weather, right? And more as we know now, even these are the issue that we are facing, the world is facing, challenging of the weather and as what they were saying about the climate, keep on changing. So this is like what happened to one of the questioner, when he passed through this land during the evening in Ramadan. He also said that it is said that the night in some of the areas lasts for 6 months and the day will last a similar amount of time. So how does the person estimate the fast in lands like these, and how do their people who are Muslims fast, or those Muslims who live there for work and study? So to answer this, the problem in this land is not particularly related to fasting, according
Mm.
to the scholars. It's not related to the fasting. Rather, it also include the prayer. That is also a problem that they are facing, isn't it? Because of the time,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
So, however, if the country has a day and night, then it is obligatory to act according to the dictate of that, regardless of whether the day is extremely long or short. However, if the land does not have night and day, like the areas around the pole of the earth, uh, where the day will last 6 months, or the night will last 6 months, then these people estimate the time of their fasting and prayer. So they use a different way on determining it. They use estimation, the time of their fasting and prayer. But what do they base the estimation upon? So some of the people of knowledge, the scholars, says that they estimate based upon the time of Mecca,
Mm.
right? Because Mecca is the mother of cities, thus all of the cities refer to it because the mother is the thing which is followed, like an imam, for example, right? So others have said that in that land they should consider based upon the middle course, right? They should consider the night has 12 hours and the day has 12 hours because this is
Mm.
the balance time regarding day and night. And some of the people of knowledge have said that they consider the closest land to them that has regular night and day. So this view is the most correct, right? So we have to,
Inshallah.
to choose, which one. So the most correct one according to the scholars here, because the closest land to them has the most right to be followed and is the closest to the climate geographically. So therefore, based upon this, they should look at the night and day of closest land to them, and they should restrict themselves to following it, whether it is for the fasting or the prayer.
inshallah.
Yeah.
Okay. Ustaz, just some of the question related to that. Since this is a challenging time for them, coping with the day and night, even for prayer and fasting, is there any leniency, for those who actually arrive or just arrival, these countries for their first time, coping with such challenges in Islam?
Leniency, you can, I mean, the beauty of Islam that brings to the other topic, which is very important for me to share, is understanding Sharia, and then the what is inside, what is inside, in order for us to be able to see that Sharia was actually to give us a lot of the on the benefits of what needs to be, because it covers in this Sharia there is fiqh, right?
Mm.
The law, the Islamic law, right? So from this fiqh is where you have the ibadah aspect, the prayer aspect, which is prayer, fasting, alms giving and pilgrimage. So down the line is where you will address the issue of al-ahwal al-saksiyah, family law, then al-ahkam, al-muamalat, commercial transaction, and this and that. So what I'm trying to share here is we need to go back to the objective, the objective of why this Sharia is being revealed to us. There are five things that normally, in general, human will be killing one another for these five things. So you need a kind of a system, or rather a law, as you use the word the leniency there, in order to address to matters of religion. So you have to have this system of what they call it daruriya, to protect the religion, to protect one's life, to protect dignity and lineage or lineage, and the protections of intellect, right? And protection of property. Don't you think that these are the five things that people will kill one another? In order
Definitely, Ustaz. Yes.
to apply this. So the leniency in Islam is, as you know, one of the rules of fasting. Should you find that you have difficulties, right, it's allowed for you to break the fast, and then you can make it up, on other days or on other months, as long on the same year, right, before the next
Mm.
Ramadan.
Mm.
So that is the only the other alternative, in other words, because the problem with us again, I think in Asia, right, I think you will
Mm.
agree with me, Mr. Israel, we have
Yep.
been taught like, even if you have to die, do it. But religiously, it is not like that. See,
Mm.
this is the problem, of how we understood, isn't it? So
Mm.
to apply law, especially in countries like, Europe, oh, it's not going to be easy. If you're going just to, so you need to understand. I mean, I do hope that if I can be, I mean, if we have the time later, I will share about the general objective of the Sharia, which is known as the maqasid,
Mm.
in order to address to that five issues that I mentioned earlier. So that is the, if you talk about being to be lenient, I mean, you are to try your best, to try and still fast. But should you have difficulties, right? Like what we saw. Yeah, I mean, for those who are not familiar, or rather
Mm.
new to the weather, new to the environment, right? You
Yes,
definitely,
definitely, definitely. Yeah.
you will go through this, because I personally also, because in Saudi Arabia also, I think they do have winter, not as cold as
Yeah.
but it's still, to me, I'm a summer man, I'm not a winter, so I normally will become lousy if
Yeah.
it is cold. So we have to switch on to that kind of leniency, that we break the fast for that moment, and then when it comes to maybe the weather change again, you can, make up the number of days that you're not able to do that during Ramadan, because of the, what you are going through.
inshallah. Okay, Ustaz. Right. So because these are the questions related to the next one, why leniency is a question. Okay, because I believe so. It could be a challenge, especially like for those who are dealing with their reverted Muslim spouse, because fasting for the first time could be a challenge, right? Because since since some of the Muslim persons are really fasting since young, they say, oh, it's trained from young, and eventually when you grow old, you'll be able to cope. This is all due to routine. But now they are for the first time with all this challenging environment, family acceptance and so on. So, what would be your advice for them?
Okay. Actually, it's the same of what we did to our young one, if you can still remember. Actually, there's no such thing as fasting half day, right? But that was introduced, kind of like to train and to prepare. You see, the problem with us normally, Mr. Is we forgotten about the other preparation in our mind. I mean, in ourselves. Sorry, we normally forgotten about that. We focus on the physical, or rather too much on the physical, but we forgot that we are also human that is with emotion, with intellect, and all these other things that comes along. So for revert, even in Singapore, that some of the Europeans that I met, I don't know whether Mr. Bilal uh, is inside this chat or not, because
He's in.
he's based in Singapore, so maybe he can share with you, how he's although in Singapore it's much more easier, as what you said just now. But the least that that you can get this message through to those reverts out there, in particular those who are in France or in other different parts of Europe, right? They can try to put on that effort. I mean, this is where, like I said earlier, they get married, I get very worried. Because I know the pressure that they're going to put onto the spouse.
Yeah.
Because they to them it's easy, as what you were saying, we were trained when we were very young.
Yeah.
We kind of get used to it, but when you deal with an adult revert, oh, it's not going to be just like that. They won't just buy what you said, they will challenge you, and they will use, especially in Western, they use a lot of logical way to try and befuddle you and challenge you and make sure that you don't have an answer to tell them that, okay, in that case you don't need to fast. And those are the common way on how people want to escape, from being forced from doing this. So my experience with some of the revert that I met here, and these are also some of they share, when they go back to their country, the problems that they are facing. So I explained to them, you can do the half day, or you don't have to even take half day, you can try like a few hours. This is allowed in Islam. Even in prayer, and the same approach that we applied, we teach them only to first memorize Surah Fatihah. Although still having the French accent in Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, it doesn't matter. As long as Arabic, you can't expect them to be speaking like an Arab. They're not an Arab. Even of course we knew the Arabs' second language is actually French. Most of the Arabs, they are able to speak French, but you don't expect French to be an Arab. They can't. So you can start with that. I mean, this is the best way on the approach of introducing Islam to them. You must be able to make them understand. Understanding is again the issue that normally we face. Many people are, like I said earlier, right? We are only doing the practices, but honestly speaking, I think I have questioned so many of the students that I met. Most of us, when we've been praying Israel when we were very young, right? Until we became an adult, then only we know Rukun Salat. Prior to the border, we just, do whatever our parents want us to do, isn't it? We don't even know whether is there Rukun, I didn't know there's a rukun. When you attend the class, then you only know, oh, there is 13 essential rules, or rather something that is obligatory that you must not
Yeah.
left. If you leave any of those 13, the prayer becomes null and void.
Yeah.
So the same approach must always be at the back of our mind. I mean, I wish that I can be in Europe.
Yeah. Ustaz, I think everybody wish since we can't travel, right? As long
Yeah,
as if you able to go JB also, is it's a blessing.
yeah, at this moment, yes.
All right.
Then
Yeah.
when you talk about, because the base of Islam is already quite strong.
Yeah.
That Allah Himself says, "Yuridullah bikumul yusra." I want to make things easy for you. So you cannot use force to tell people, die, you must pass. No, that's not how the rule is being introduced. And I always make sure that when you deal with a revert, the first thing you have to strengthen is the Aqidah. The
Mm.
Aqidah is the theological aspect. Theology is a big thing in Islam, but many of us also didn't look into that to be able to understand who you're dealing with, in other words. Because if you were to be making comparison, it's not going to be much of a difference, right? When you compare yourself with a king or with a president, right? You still remember that they are human beings, so you can like belittle them and befuddle them, right? But when you compare yourself with Allah, then you need to know the difference. So
Mm.
that's where the theology comes in,
Inshallah.
and then only you can apply the law. Because I mean, if you do a cross examining, right, you will find that every country there is law, and ours here in Singapore is the best when you talk law, isn't it?
Mm.
They are very stringent and this and that, and that's the only way to make you the best, right? But
Mm.
Islam doesn't approach in that manner. Islam approach first is for you to know who is Allah, to love Him, to know how He answers to you. Is He real, or is just words or figure, right? So this is where the theology comes in.
Mm.
Ah, right.
Inshallah. Right. Ustaz, you got a few minutes. Do you want if I ask you a few more questions
Sure,
with
sure,
regards
sure.
to challenges? Yeah. Okay.
Right.
One of the interesting question, right, which was shown to me, I'll share with you about having to live very far away from the mosque, which I think we in Singapore have that luxury sometimes to
Right.
walk a few bus stops away, right?
Yeah.
But they are facing, like, for example, 200 km. I was like,
Mm.
wow, 200 km is like going to Malacca.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Near, if you live in 200 km from the nearest mosque, or halal butcher, moving to another region is not an option. Okay. So
Right.
the question is, how one perform their Friday prayer?
Okay. According to the rule, although we knew that Friday is obligatory prayer, right?
Yep.
Obligatory in country again. That was a very nice question that you put just now, to say that. Now we first have to do some homework, and then in
Mm.
order for us to understand, when you particularly when you are posing questions about you know about the legal aspect, because when you question legal question, the first thing that you need to understand is, are you in the state where they kind of like agree to always. Okay, sorry. I mean, like, people question, people start to question. So, in other words, in short, normally you got to ask whether it's Dar al Islam or
Mm.
Dar al Iman. So, in the context of Singapore, as an example, right, we are known as Dar al Iman. We are in a state where the government is a secular government, right? Because if you go into the meaning of secular, right, according to
Mm.
Professor Hakim Al-Atas, is of two kinds, right? One secular will accept the religion, the other is no no compromising at all. So we are very fortunate in Singapore. Our government, we have, have acknowledged 11 major regions before I answer about the issue of this going for the prayer. So because if you don't question like that, then you're going to have problem of raising this issue again when you move to another part of the world. You will be facing the same problem. You know, you will have issue of going to the mosque. And there's no way that you like not like in our country, you know.
Yeah.
And you can't be comparing also with Malaysia. Even Malaysia also not really quite a distance, for them to go to. They don't have to go to the national mosque, but along the way there are so many other mosques, right?
Agree. Yep.
Drop by, and they even have salah, normally, like most of the highway, right? They sometimes even, apply or they create Jum'ah for that moment, in situation whereby maybe because of the journey and there are too many of these travelers, right? They happens to be on the stop. So that's where they organize the Friday prayer. So Friday can be done in that manner too. And I think the new issue that we face, I think I saw one of your collection where you were very active with the late Mufti Ustaz Dr. Fatris Bakaram. I think he mentioned about this issue in one of your collections of your video, the live streaming video. No, and he mentioned about the Zawal. These are some of the things that I don't know. I mean, I hope at the later when we meet again, or rather when we, get the opportunity, I will go into more in detail to explain.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
So to answer the question about, of course, if it is too far away and due to because of the prayer time, right? You have to forego the Friday prayer. All right, because it doesn't make sense, if you have to go all the way. By the time you reach there, the Friday is finished. Right? It's 200 kilometer, and I don't know whether, of course, this is real. This is actually Ramadan timetable 2021 France. They show me the suhoor, or rather the subuh time there, in what I'm not good in pronouncing, and this is very difficult, especially in Paris. It's actually 0438 hours. That is their subuh time. And then, unfortunately, the breaking of fast is, is 20:55. Which is about 8:55 p.m. So it's impossible. I even had the prayer time. That tell us that. It's ridiculous. There's no way that you can be traveling over that 200 kilometer in order for you to do. And because there are again reason for Jumaat to be excused, right? An example of beside this 200 kilometer, assume there will be a stormy weather or rather, like what we went through, I think, a few days ago, right? Until it becomes flooded some areas here. So it's where you can also forgo the Jum'ah because of the weather doesn't permit you. You can't continue going and risking your life. So it's another alternative. So the moment you are not able to attend the Jum'at, or rather you are not able to go to the nearest mosque to perform Jum'at, right? Then you are allowed to do Zuhur. So this is what happened to us during the circuit breaker, if you can still remember.
Yeah.
Oh, Jum'ah, all mosques are closed, right?
Yep. Is there a way that they all can do a community solat, a small group of people rather than having to travel around there?
Yes, you can. I experienced this myself when I was visiting Thailand, and in the northern part of Thailand, in Yak Soton, it's 600 kilometers from Bangkok to this place, where I was caught by the Muslims there. There were only 14 Muslim members, 14 Muslim members, Can you imagine? And it was I'm very fortunate. I happens to be there on the eve of Aidil Adha. So I was invited, and I became an imam. Where I don't speak Thai. So, and you may imagine if 14 family members, so the one that will be coming for the Friday prayers. So this is where the other school of thoughts comes in.
Yeah, yes.
In different school of thoughts, Jummah can be done like the volume, the congregant, not necessarily have to be 40.
Yes.
Right? Only in Shafi'i is one. So this is where that applies to this situation. If you have to travel too far, right? If the government are okay for you to be, especially in countries where you have a lot of space, right? You can just do, we have to train D, to train the husband next imam. So the next time, if if he's staying in that far away from the mosque, right? Then the husband can be the imam and someone be the Bilal, and then the rest become congregants. Then that's it. Jama'ah can be established.
Inshallah.
So as maybe even lesser than 10 is allowed.
Yes.
For in certain parts of the world. Now coming back to the halal butcher also, again the same thing also. In fact, Islam recognizes kosher meat. I don't know whether you've heard of this.
Okay.
Right. So that will be the other alternative. And this is being debated by Professor Yusuf Qaradawi. Yusuf Qaradawi is a contemporary scholar, but for your information, this is being, most of the scholars around the world is of, they agree to most of the view, that he mentioned. In most, most of the scholars of the world today will be sharing with us about the view of Professor Yusuf Qaradawi. So he's the one, and anyway, it is in the Quran. Allah says that the food of people of the book is halal for us. Although there's a debate there in terms of what kind of people of the book are we talking here in modern times, right? But you can't be challenging God. God is the one that says it's permissible for you to eat their meat and marry their women. So you can't be denying to say that this is not allowed. It's clear. There's a clear mention of this in the Quran. I don't think so. I can go into the detail about how this. Okay, the other alternative, of course, Muslims. Again, I do not know about your respected Syed Izzuddin. Are you familiar in slaughtering animal?
Not so, but involved with helping up during.
Okay. So that would be another way you can look into, and this is again I experienced it myself. If you are in a country where there's no halal meat, right? So you have to equip yourself of knowing on how to do the slaughtering yourself. When you can have the livestock, you bring it back home and you can do the slaughtering, then you can eat peacefully. You can associate it's 100% halal. But the other alternative, should you are in a situation where you're not familiar, because if you slaughter wrongly, the head is being cut off, then it becomes something is forbidden in the religion. Not many people who wants to take that kind of experience, slaughtering. Some have a small heart, although a big size, but small heart. they can't look into slaughtering. So those are alternatives. The other option, like I said just now, is the kosher meat. Kosher meat are actually meat that is sold by the Jews. According to the law, it's allowed. So this is not based on my decision, and I didn't make that, but it is mentioned in the Quran.
Alhamdulillah. Islam is so beautiful, so creates a lot of opportunity for us to able to practice even all over the world. Yeah, Ustaz, you just mentioned just now we don't have to meet for more than 40 congregation as long as you have Bilal, and we have Bilal here with us. Yeah, we're gonna share with us maybe a bit of his experience living in Singapore. Okay, bring in Bilal. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. How are you, Ustaz and Brother Israel?
Alhamdulillah, Brother Bilal.
Great, thank you for making this session happen. I think that's very useful and needed, especially for our brothers and sisters in Europe. So yeah, I mean, I might share first and foremost. I think it's looking at Singapore. Obviously, it's probably one of the best countries in the world to be a Muslim. In the sense that I would believe so. In the sense that there is a lot of resources in terms of learning. There is a lot of ustaz, and it's not rigid, it's not too passive, it's just right in between. I mean, if you were to compare with maybe some of the neighboring countries where maybe the learning is a little bit different, but in Singapore it's quite well regulated, and there is a lot of masjid everywhere, there is halal food everywhere. So it's quite easy to be a Muslim in Singapore, I would say, and of course compared to France, right, which I have experienced myself. So Alhamdulillah. I mean, for me it's been an ease, and I mean I have been also surrounded by good teachers, and also I've been guided towards the right people at the right time. So nothing to complain about. Really, it's been a breeze. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Okay, without further ado, I bring back Dee. Wow, no. Alhamdulillah. Dee, you want to share something? So you got to fasting, Dee.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Ustaz. I also relearned a few things myself just now. And Bilal, thank you for sharing. I can't agree enough. It's times like this that sometimes you wish I was back in Singapore, at least in an Asian, Southeast Asian context, It has been quite a challenge here, not just for me, but many of us. And certainly this session is also to aid everybody else who faces such challenges. So personally, my husband being a Muslim revert, alhamdulillah, I think he is, how do you say, he takes things in stride. He's open to the knowledge of Islam and practices. So I don't know whether it comes with culturally or not, that he doesn't seem to complain so much. So, but he just sort of follows what he's supposed to. So that makes it easy for me. I'm sure I understand too. It's not always the case with everybody. With married to reverts, whether in Singapore or in France or Europe in general. For my husband, I must say that his intention of fasting was, although I was helping him to fast, petit a petit, they say bit by bit, like a child kind of thing. And because of Ustaz's guidance as well, I was able to, impart that knowledge. But he did it just like that in one day, and all of, 17 hours or something. So, I think I would have to say that the barakat of dua is also there. Other than trying to put things in practice as well. So it's always constant there every day. So it's other than this, he goes about fasting quite normally like us, except he still does his sports. I don't know how he does it. So yeah, he doesn't seem to complain about the weather or anything. So maybe because I've been a bit manja, coming from 13 hours in Singapore, and the weather hasn't been that extreme to be here. It's a big challenge for me more than him. So yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Ustaz just left. He's out. Ustaz suddenly. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Anyway, hopefully this will not be the last. This is not the first step. So I think the sharing by Ustaz has been good for me. I learned a fair bit, especially when talking about some of this makasi, talking about people living in Europe, some of the challenges that we face, and how Islam and make it so beautiful, so simplified that we can just practice it all over the world. And coming from Bilal and the experience, I learned a little bit more from you guys too. Hopefully Ustaz can get back in time. If not, we will just end. Hopefully with the next session, we can do more sharing. I would get Bilal to share more stuff, right? And even we see what are the topics that we're gonna come with for the challenges that we face, not only in France but any part of the world, right? Inshallah. So we will end this session.
So we also hope that there is other guests, another guest that is in other part of Europe that can also share their challenge.
Inshallah.
So everybody out there, please come back and tell us that you want to be our guest like us.
Inshallah. Okay, guys, don't go anywhere. Stay here. Okay, let me end this session. Okay, inshallah, we meet again in the next fortnight with other great topics and questions that Ustaz Syed Esa will be able to address. I will end with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Till meet again.